What motivated you to choose this line of work?
Well, I guess just to start, I'm a very visuals-oriented person, and so that is my artistic language, is to capture things in a sort of taking your thoughts, because thoughts usually, once you start having your own personal input on them, or you start to use your imagination, it follows movie logic, cuts, slow motion, reverse, all of these kinds of tools. Same thing with dreams. Those obey the logic of film. And so I think it's perfect for empathy and providing a voice to something. Just sharing your unique ideas in general, the different combinations of the mediums. And there's music in films, there's poetry, there's narration, that kind of thing. Music in books and paintings all kind of comes together to create the ultimate sort of hybrid art form. That's just how I see it anyway. It's up to chance, and I will try my best, but ultimately I don't think I'll ever be able to divorce myself from the world of film. And I think if I can't have necessarily the platform that I desire, then I will just end up creating some sort of visual filmic thing as a catharsis, and just to be able to put it somewhere for anybody in the world to enjoy, just to have a record of my ideas and my experiences on Earth, and just be a low budget filmmaker, or hopefully try to fill the gaps in terms of what I think is missing from films and the film industry, if I'm able to get that success.
Are there any expectations you had about this career that you found differed from reality in both a good and a bad way? Or a bad way?
Well, yes and no, because I think that as I grow older, film becomes a new sort of thing for me, and there are many different avenues to explore. The more that you open up your horizons, and it's just sort of an infinite, infinite vacuum of things. But also, film is not as creative as one might assume, in that a lot of what you're going to be doing is more managerial, planning, data kind of work. Once you have written your screenplay or whatever it is, once the actual creative stuff is out of the way, it almost becomes secondary to the actual business rigmarole of showing up to a set every day and making sure everything doesn't fall apart. But at the same time, that can be a bit of a cynical reading of it.
What are your biggest challenges in your career? What are the compromises?
It's a good question. Challenge would be just general. I've been very interested in film, like in the context of film, being insecure and being unsubtle, or trying to decide between full-blown realism, kitchen sink realism, or do you want impressionism? And I suppose the compromises would be just attempting to feel more inspired by other pieces of work that will therefore inform my own vision. Just to be able to hear everybody out, because ultimately it's a very subjective art form.
Yeah.
And I think embracing objectivity can make you fall into egotism, which is not what you want. So just that's my way of navigating it.
How do film directors handle difficult situations on set?
Okay. Well, let's say it's about maintaining composure, obviously, and understanding the problem. I was saying how film can be a very empathetic art form earlier, and it's the same thing on a film set. You have to understand the struggle. You can't let your ego butt into it too much, because then your judgment will be clouded, and it's just going to escalate. So you have to listen and just keep your mouth shut just for a bit, assess the situation. And sometimes people don't want to do things that you want them to do. And so if you can, improv can be your best friend. And workarounds and wraparounds, whatever you want to call that, just improvisation and solving the issue is an important skill to develop.
All right. What has your career path been?
In terms of
Well, okay, it says in parentheses, what other jobs and experiences led you to this career?
Okay. Very much less so jobs, as I do want to clarify. I am very much an indie filmmaker, so it is
Yeah.
Not exactly a business venture yet. It's a non-profit, more passionate endeavor instead. But no, experiences, just helping out with school projects over the years, or creating my own, has really added fuel to that drive to create something and just get my hands on a camera. Just watching other people create things in general has really led me down this path.
What is your current role like? What is it like to get what about it makes you want to get up in the morning?
Well, I suppose it's always I'm bubbling with different thoughts and ideas to express, and so to be able to relieve that and have it in my arsenal for later, just to keep track of it, it alleviates me, because you always should be, if something catches your attention, then it needs to be written down, or something. It needs to be documented in some way so that you don't forget.
What does an average week look like for you?
Well, there's a lot of simple retail work. I actually do work at a movie theater, which is a great idea if you are studying film or interested in film, because it gives you that it gives you the intrinsic value of the work, because even though it's less important, or I guess it's sort of it's subsidiary to actual movies, you're not going to be watching movies all day or making movies. That's not what you're being paid for. But the cinematic experience is partially, that's something you're trying to preserve in multiple different ways. So if you do want a job like that, definitely work at a movie theater. But also just lots of downtime. I'm not as productive as I'd like to be, but when I am, I find it a very fulfilling experience.
What skills are the most crucial to succeeding in this career?
It's, well, there's a lot of different facets of film that I think some movies do not prioritize acting as a main asset or something important. There's all kinds of indie subgenres, or sort of scrappy YouTube creations, whatever have you, that just want dialogue over delivery. So it's an incredibly tip-topsy thing. Multiple people want different things. But I would personally say, removing myself from more of an academic, didactic finger wagging, you have to do this. I think that For me, I see presentation and theme, just having something to say in some way goes a long way. If you can one-up what came before, that's all that matters. Mediocrity drives me insane. And perfect can be the enemy of good, so that's something you have to watch out for. But at the very least, add your own mixture to the pot.
What advice would you give me as a person looking into joining this career field?
Definitely find your vision. Become a production assistant in any way you can. Probably, I would advise against film school. But if you do have the economic opportunity, or if you are granted access, if it's accessible, if it's there, you can go to film school. But I think ultimately, it's not that complicated. If you hate academic settings like me, and you don't want your passion turned into this mind-numbing memorization cesspool, then just go straight to the work part, because the more you work on something hands-on, and get a sense of that practicality and that process and that mindset, then you're going to be there. You're going to become a great filmmaker, at least in your own eyes.
All right, that was the last question.